Welcome, viewers, to yet another show of the Secretariat's Economic Interview. This week, we are going to talk to Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, who has been our ambassador to the Netherlands. She was, in fact, in charge of all our relations with the European Union for a very, very long time. And she was heading the department in the ministry on that, and she actually piloted many of the turning points, many of the very important India-EU summits that were held throughout this century. Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee is also a well-known authoress, and she has written a number of books, including one on India's relationship with the European Union. As you all know, India's second largest export destination is the European Union. We do about 17.7% of our exports with the United States and 17.3% with the European Union. It's a huge market for us, and it's very important for us indeed to fix our relationships with the European Union. Now that trade war is raging throughout the world, everybody is slapping tariffs on each other. Welcome to the show, Ambassador Mukherjee. What we would like to really know from you is, as you know, you started off the talks on India trade regime, a kind of agreement between the two. Where are we now with that, and also our trade pact with the United Kingdoms? Do you think there is need to hasten them now that the world is going through a tariff war? Do we need to come to some kind of an agreement quickly so that we can get the benefits of some kind of a free trade agreement with the European Union?
You're quite right, Jayanta. The first India-EU summit was held in June 2000 when I was Joint Secretary Europe West. And in 2009, we were on the verge of concluding what is called the BTIA with EU, when, if you remember, the Lehman Brothers and then the bank crisis in Europe and in Greece started, and everything went into a meltdown in Europe. So all the concessions that they had made to us on the basis of which we had agreed, they took back because they were no longer, they said, in a position to do that. Right now, what has happened is that the European Union has taken a very confrontational approach to President Trump's proposed tariff policy, which, in my perspective, may not have been the best way to treat Trump, because when you get tough with him, he gets even tougher. It's always much better to do backdoor negotiations, which the Europeans actually are not good at doing. They are very confrontational when it comes to their interests being hit. Probably because also they are, unlike United States, they are all ex-colonial powers, all of them, including the present head, who is from Germany. She's German. So I believe that the main impediment to an India-EU BTIA was because they put in investment into trade, which was too wide for us to accept from a developed bloc of countries, and B, because they were unwilling to give us concessions that we need. Now, we are in a much better position because the country that caused the biggest problems for us left after Brexit, that's UK, and now, since they've been hit so hard by the tariffs, they will be much more accommodative towards us because they would need to have a market for their goods and services, excluding agriculture, where there was always a tussle between them and us, because it is not possible for us to open up our agricultural sector to the European Union without protection. It's not even politically feasible for any government to do that. So yes, you're right. I think that the time has come, and we are making good progress. We are also, and this is quite interesting, we are making excellent progress with a separate FTA with UK, and we are separately negotiating at a very advanced stage a business deal with the Americans, which is what Japan is doing and Vietnam is doing. That is, the three countries who don't believe that confrontation will help have quietly are going through negotiations, so that, and as you can see, the results already are clear. For instance, India's pharma sector has not been hit. That's a very major big deal. They were very interested on that motorbike thing of theirs. That what is it called? The Harley. They that we already decided. And as far as wines and spirits are concerned, I always told the Ministry of Commerce that these tariffs are ridiculous, and they always told me that it's a negotiating ploy. So the moment we get a good progress on something, we will cut down by more than 50% the tariffs we've put on imported wine, imported alcohol, etc. So if, for instance, we show ourselves to be accommodative with regard to good California red or white wine, like we would do with French wine, these are also negotiating ploys by which we would be able to get business deals. So a very long answer to your short question is yes, the atmosphere is indeed excellent for India to conclude business deals with EU, with UK, and also with the United States of America. That is my assessment.
So, Ambassador Mukherjee, where does all this take us really? I mean, in the sense that with all these negotiations, etc., where will it take us and where will it end?
It has to end quite soon because the stock markets in the United States have been hit, and the lower middle class, whom he is supposed to be protecting, that is where his vice president comes from, the depressed part of the United States. Unless he can show them more jobs, more prosperity fast, he's going to lose the midterm. If he loses the midterms, then the control goes out of his hands. He will not be able to proceed any further. So I think that he will be obliged to come to deals with everybody, including the EU. He will not do it. He will not delay too much. Clearly, it is time for Musk to leave, and it's very interesting that both sides, both Musk and Trump, Trump has said, well, he has a very big business. I'd love to keep him with me, but he has to go back to his business. And Musk has also said that it's time that I went back to my business. So I think that with the departure of Musk, who seems to have become a hate figure for all the adversaries of Trump, hate Musk more than Trump. I think it will be easier for President Trump to come to some deals with the departure of Musk because Musk has done what Trump wanted him to do, which is he has dismantled the US deep state. That was his job. He's delivered. I think in another 15 days to 1 month, he would have been able to dismantle all the institutions which actively worked against Trump in his first presidency and actively worked to bring cases against Trump so that he doesn't run again. Once that is done, he would go back to his big business. And in that case, I would love to see how he's going to handle the problem of Tesla and the EV because he has a huge market in China. So I'd love to see how he persuades President Trump to make a U-turn with regard to China. And the tariffs imposed by China have impacted the US stock market. This was not something that President Trump expected, but which every economist expected because the world is globalized, we are all interconnected. I would actually say, though, with crossed fingers, that we have been far less impacted because we've kept a very low profile, which is the right thing to do. And we have done everything from the back, which is a very Asian thing also to do. This is a very Asian thing, whether it's Japan or it's Vietnam or it's India. And in fact, if he had allowed it, he could have even worked out some kind of a deal with the Chinese, in my perspective. But he did not give them any time or space, and he did everything publicly on television, which I think is not the right way to conduct very delicate business deals, either with allies or with adversaries. So we have to wait and see. But he doesn't have so much of time. I think he has to work. I think he has a time frame of 3 months, not more than that, to bring this to a close.
Ambassador Mukherjee, one probability that we have is that there might be a lot of dumping in India. USA has imposed tariffs on a lot of countries, including China, of course, Vietnam, European Union for that matter.
I don't think we can reduce tariffs on some of these items. Like, for instance, steel. The steel sector in India, which is large and powerful and well connected politically and otherwise, have always complained about dumping of Chinese goods onto India, because our steel products, especially stainless steel, etc., is of a very superior quality and cannot be compared actually with the kind of stuff that comes in from China. So I would be very surprised that we would lower our, as it is for the last 5 years, there have been consistent complaints from the steel industry that there is too much of dumping of Chinese goods with regard to steel on the Indian market. So I don't see that happening at all. And the indications are that we are not going we have been trying to build up resilient supply chains without including the Chinese. And I think we will continue to do that. There are also very strange rumors emanating from within China with regard to a power struggle going on there, etc. It's difficult to know how much of it is true and how much of it is false, given the fact that it's a closed economy. But with regard to China, despite the much more positive signals coming from both sides, I think we would not do that, not with the Chinese at any rate. As far as the other products which are likely to be hit, well, as far as semiconductors are concerned, we are in deep negotiations, advanced negotiations with Taiwan, and we have also actually had excellent talks with the Americans on semiconductors. Um, as far as drones and other stuff that we need, we have no problem at all with the Americans. The Americans would like us to buy more defense stuff from them on stuff that we really require, we will have to pay a higher price. We will get it from them, but at the same time, we will continue to keep our old arms suppliers because we need them not just for new products but also for spare parts for the existing products. So I think the deal that would ultimately happen with the US is that we would end up buying a whole lot of strategic defense products from the Americans, which is what the Americans have been asking us for a long time, from the time of Biden onwards. And it's clear that we definitely need to build up our own drone industry, and we need to build semiconductors ASAP.
Last but not least, Ambassador Mukherjee, what do you think will happen to the WTO? This trade war has bypassed it. It's not been able to do much. Where do you see WTO going forward?
When I was learning French in Sorbonne University decades ago, they said that there is a very interesting word in the English language which is called present continuous tense, which is what you've used. I think the WTO, frankly, became irrelevant a long time ago, long before Trump came, because the Americans, basically, who created WTO, in my perspective, have destroyed WTO. For instance, the WTO dispute settlement mechanism, which is so important, it's no longer functional because vacancies which have come have not been filled. Otherwise, an organization that is supposed to regulate international trade and which clearly states that tariffs cannot be weaponized, that it is illegal for a state to weaponize tariffs because it goes against the very perspective of free trade, which is what WTO is based on. Where has anybody significant from WTO said one word in the last 4 days? Ever since President Trump, like a school teacher, I remember in school, they would hold up a blackboard. That's what he did. He held up this blackboard to the world to show, and there we were desperately scrambling to see whether India is 26% or 27%. At one point, it was 27, and it came to 26, and it went back to 27, etc. It was like pure drama on the international stage, where I have not seen. But you are a famous journalist, you would know better. I have not seen any significant comment from anybody from WTO on this matter. Not one, which means that they have just decided to lie low and let things settle down, which, from an Indian perspective, because that's a very Asian perspective, I think that's not such a bad idea. I don't know whether the head of WTO is an Asian. I don't think so. I lost interest in WTO about 5 years ago, but I don't think he's an Asian. So I think maybe he's decided that the Asian way of keeping quiet and letting things settle down is the best. But at the moment, you are mentioning WTO. I would say that if there are two organs of the multilateral system that are now completely non-functional. One is the UN Security Council, and the other is the WTO. If you want to add WHO to it, I can add WHO to it. I think WHO also without American funding has nowhere to go. There are rumors that they're going to stop funding of UNESCO, but UNESCO has a lot of extra budgetary funding, so it won't go that way. But WHO definitely, and WTO yes, and UN Security Council. Where has there ever been any significant comment on any important international issue in the last 5 years, long before Trump? It's completely irrelevant. So, is it the end of multilateralism? I think not. Is it the end of the old global world order where the Goras, as we call them in India, the white people, call the shots? Yes. Does it mean that there is an evolution to new world order? Yes. Will it be good for India? Yes, I think it will be good for India.
Thank you, Ambassador Mukherjee, for being with us and answering our questions. I'm sure your answers will provide food for thought-provoking thoughts and ideas in the minds of our viewers. Thank you.